midday.
Right. So I think we are live now.
Oh, I can see it.
Hey, GM Omnas, GM everyone who joined us. I think we are live now. We are about to start the live streaming to discuss about the Webaverse and EPS integration and how things work and how you can use it for safeguarding your precious Genesis passes for the future endeavors. Hey Omnas, how are you?
Yeah, I'm really good. Thank you very much for having me here. It's really nice to be talking with you.
Yeah. So Omnas, as we know about the I just want to give a short information about what is actually EPS in terms of me, which I know. I think the EPS solves the problem of for holders who need to risk their assets through interaction with unknown and potential unsafe smart contracts or the wallet interface. Basically, it allows users to prove ownership of assets, for example, through bots and already Discord things, and transaction history while leaving cold storage entirely cold. Basically, which means is that your cold wallet will not get affected or it remains untouched. And it also allows holders to specify um, the delivery of your NFTs, or like if you want to get it delivered to somewhere else, you can do that. And so basically, it's gives the user a more power and more control over their own assets without risking it. So yeah, I think it's really cool interface. So Omnas, can you please tell me about why you call EPS a headless protocol? Why such interesting name?
It's a funny term, and it wasn't just to shoehorn in a cool bit of art of Frankenstein, although that did help. It's a good summary. I like your summary of what EPS does. I think that the very simplest way of thinking about why it's needed or why it's useful is, at the moment we have this situation where, and I think this is going to get more the case, NFTs deliver a lot of benefits for their holders, or can deliver benefits like access to a Discord or participation in a mint. There's lots and lots of use cases where NFTs can be really useful for admitting people into things. And at the moment, the standard for doing that is, okay, that's great. You want to get into this thing, you sign this interaction with the wallet that holds the NFT. That's the only option we've got at the moment. And that's where a lot of the risk lies around that not necessarily being a genuine transaction. So sometimes there can be people doing maybe derivative mints, saying if you've got this sort of NFT, you can get this cool mint here, and actually you're not getting a mint, it's trying to set approval for all on that wallet. Or even legitimate websites have been hacked, and things that would normally be okay actually aren't. And the real danger there is you're proving you're owning an asset with the thing that holds the asset. So when a kind of a TradFi comparison is, if you're trying to get a mortgage at the bank, you don't prove you've got the deposit by taking the cash in a suitcase and showing it to the teller. Like you don't do that. And then equally, you don't do that and then let them take it out back and count it to prove that you got that money. You have other ways of proving you own a thing that give someone no chance to get access to it. And that's what EPS is all about, is a trustless way of saying, look, I do own this thing. I am entitled to the benefit associated with this thing. But at the same time, even if this turns out to be a shady website or a shady contract I'm interacting with, you can't have it because you're not interacting with the wallet that holds it. It's effectively tucked away safely. So that's the kind of whole purpose of it. In a nutshell, to sort of keep it simple. The headless protocol you mentioned is a new thing we invented for EPS, where we're trying to keep things as safe as possible. We want there to be as few attack vectors for people to potentially exploit. The idea of a headless protocol is you can communicate with the register just by doing ERC20 transfers. You don't have to use an app if you don't want to. So the idea being, we've eliminated the need to interact using your cold wallet by using a hot proxy. We don't even want you to use a cold wallet with an EPS app. Like, we literally don't want that as well. So there's no need to super harden the front end and make sure that's impossible to be hacked, because impossible is impossible. And that's the idea of the headless protocol. It's quite unusual, but it does mean you can just use your wallet. You don't need to head to a website to use an app. If the people watching are happy and you're happy, I can take you on a bit of a story. I can sort of take you maybe through a 5-minute, where does the idea for EPS come from, show you some pictures, some charts and stuff, and then do a demo. Does that?
Yeah. So you know what? That was my next question. Like, I have seen your website. You're using very danky, art animations, and you do in between some proc stop. Like, you do some kind of events, right? In between. So I was that was in my head, that how you came up with this idea. Are you working alone, or maybe who's with you? And what is like where it gets all started? Where you get Apple airdrop on your head?
All right, let's do the story. It is just me at the moment. Just me on my own. Just ideas from my head. I'm not an artist, so the cool artwork you've got on the site, I found. I think it might be on Fiverr. A guy in Argentina that did really good Halloween themed art. And when we were going through October, I kind of liked the synergy between the idea of EPS is to make crypto less scary, i.e., I don't mind doing a thing because I know I can't get robbed. So to sort of remove that fear. And I like the whole kind of meshing with October being a spooky time. And then we got some sort of fun graphics out of it as well. I'm going to take you through some pictures if this works. And hopefully, if the stream is working properly, you can now see a different sort of picture come up. But I want to talk about why I think EPS is important now, and why I think it's going to increasingly be important in years to come. EPS or any other way of delegating and proxying between addresses. If we look at online community revenue, it's grown massively. So between 2014 and 2021 is a massive increase from about 400 million to 1.2 billion, and increasingly people are moving away from Facebook and places like that for social media and towards places like Webaverse. So communities are definitely increasingly tokenized in terms of access and that sort of membership. But any of us on Twitter, we see the tweets periodically of people that have been scammed or robbed and have lost assets through a variety of means. For NFTs, those exploits are almost exclusively sort of front end related, where they've interacted with something that hasn't done what they thought. So that definitely holds people back, particularly if you look at the really valuable communities where the NFTs are really, really worth a lot. I can well imagine them sitting there thinking, oh, this thing looks cool, but I'm not going to take part because I don't want to have any risk involved. I did some market research in inverted commas to kind of work out like how big a problem is it, and I think it's a big problem. I think we're sort of used to it as an issue, but I think it's bigger than people realize, just because it sort of feels like a normal level of fear. So most people are fearful, 97% on the left there, about asset loss. 75% of people, so most people have signed things without knowing exactly what it would actually do. I think that probably applies to pretty much all of us. Like I can, but I don't necessarily go and read every single smart contract top to bottom before I interact with it. That would take a long time. And it's totally unreasonable to expect users to do that in order to interact. And yeah, most people said that, we kind of need something different. 96% of people said they want to change. Most people didn't rate their wallet safety as good. So almost just a quarter said it was good. And yet 98% had more than one wallet. So people were aware of the fact that you don't need to put everything all in one place and hold it all in one place, but people still weren't happy with the level of safety. So this little diagram featuring my favorite little yellow WASI down there, DERP, in the cold wallet, is basically how EPS works. If you look at the token gated app on the right-hand side, that isn't ever connected to the cold wallet. It doesn't connect to it at all. What it does connect to is a hot wallet that has dust in there. It doesn't have any NFTs, just has some ETH. And if that app is gating access to people who own WASIs, then EPS can confirm that hot wallet should be let in, because it's proxied through to the cold. So yeah, so simple stuff. But importantly, in this whole diagram, because that purple token gated app never connects to the cold wallet, it can't thieve anything, no matter what they've written in there. The headless protocol, which I mentioned, this is where people sort of start to phase out, is a way of not using an app to communicate with the protocol. I won't go into massive detail because it's quite boring, but there's articles on it that are in there, and this is more to the builders. But in terms of the actual integration, for any of these things to be truly useful, it's got to be super easy for projects to plug it in. So one of the things that I was very conscious of is a lot of apps are gating based on someone having a balance that's non-zero. So you can only come in if you have some of this token. And with EPS, you can replace that with one line of code plus an import to bring in an actual contract address. So not quite one, probably more like 3, but nearly one. Blah, blah, blah. Too much text on screen. But yeah, it's protection against those front-end exploits that can be an issue. Yeah. And then we talk about people integrating things. This is my dream. This is my dream situation where we see tweets like this, where someone who has been taking part in something that's been, in this case, the radioactive turkey mint for Lazy Lions holders. I'm sure Lazy Lions were delighted with their free radioactive turkeys. In this case, we've got an example where we're imagining an exploit's happened and the hot wallet has been exploited somehow, and they've lost that. But none of the Lazy Lions have been swiped because they're safely protected in the cold wallet. And equally, we have the situation where projects that don't have a lot of exposure. So if I'm a brand new project and I'm pushing something out there, I'm sort of expecting at the moment that no one's going to bother because the chances of it potentially being an exploit in some way are very low, but people are like, well, I've not heard of it, so I won't bother with it. We have a situation where projects can go, cool, come get your odd-looking mutant tree for all Ether tree holders, and we've implemented EPS, so we can't rob you. It's an extra level of assurance that a project can give, that they're going, look, we aren't trying to take your stuff because we've made sure it's impossible at this point in time. That's kind of it. I've talked a bit more about integrations. So when we talk about the next step with EPS, is it's only as useful as the places that make use of it. So yeah, well, it's really, really cool to come along and talk to people like Webaverse and your community to discuss how this stuff can be useful to you. I'm conscious those were technically slides. I've talked for a while now, so I'll shut up and you can ask questions and let me know if anyone's gone into a coma.
So you know what, as you already know, the more than 90% of hacks which happen are at the app level, not the smart contract level, right? So
yep.
How EPS protect on the app level, basically?
That's mainly where it's targeted at. So the protection comes from the fact that the app isn't connected to the wallet that holds the asset. So the reason these app level exploits are so common is it's almost like a sitting duck. They're saying you can only get access to this thing if you hold this asset. So they know the wallet that you're connecting with holds a given asset type, and they can actually target things towards those certain assets. With EPS, if you're acting with a hot wallet, you've got a wallet that potentially has nothing in it except maybe ETH for gas. And then all of your assets are stored in a cold wallet. So the app level protection there is that app can't get assets that are in a wallet that is not connected, that isn't signing messages. It literally can't actually get to them, even if they try to. So if you've got stuff in a cold wallet and you're operating using a hot wallet connected through EPS with an app, the app can't touch your cold wallet.
Oh, so that's cool. So Omnas, let's just start demonstrating community and how actually EPS work. Like you can share your screen and we can showcase how things can get started.
Okay, right. So switching to a different screen. Hopefully you can see a web page with EPS on it and some stuff. Hopefully you can see that. I've got here as an example. Nice. I've got an example here of essentially a situation. We've got a hot wallet which has got nothing in it, and a cold wallet which has got some Webaverse Genesis passes in. So another little sort of side project I've got is the ether tree, and we've got 4 Webaverse Genesis passes in there, just eagerly waiting to grab some land and plant some trees. So we'll have a look at these addresses first, and I'm going to look on Etherscan because it's probably the easiest way to move between things. So this is my ether tree wallet. This is the address here, and you can see I've got 4 Webaverse Genesis passes for this particular address. So this is actually as a cold wallet on Ledger, and it's holding these Webaverse Genesis passes. I've also got a hot wallet which I set up relatively recently, which is this one here, and as you can see, it's got nothing on it at all. It's got 0.01 ETH, which was actually sent from EtherTree this morning, and nothing else whatsoever. So it's got no ESR20s, it's got no NFTs, nothing at all. So remember, the Genesis passes are here on this wallet, and nothing is here. If I go across to the EPS register contract, it provides a method for querying what the balance is of a certain address. So the address which has got nothing in it at all, this OXFF, if I query this, it rightly says you have no Webaverse Genesis passes, 0.
Oh,
and if I query this address, sorry, mate?
Yeah.
And if I query the cold address, it goes, wow, well, you have 4. So standard stuff, querying the chain to see who has what. So in an example where we're gating a web page on the basis of holding this asset, I currently would have to connect with my cold wallet, which I don't really want to do. So I'd have to connect with ethertree.eth to get access. What EPS lets us do is inform the register that hot wallet has beneficial ownership of that balance, so that I can interact using the wallet that's got $10 worth of ETH rather than the wallet that's got 4 Webaverse Genesis passes. So if we look at how we set that up, it's pretty straightforward. The first thing I'll query is I'll look at my hot address, and I'll stick that in here, and I'll ask EPS to tell me what it's got. So it's got no proxy record at all. It's got nothing that's mapped. It's got no cold. It's got no delivery. And on the left-hand side here, it tells you how to use the headless protocol to set up a proxy. So the first thing you need to do is send this sort of quasi pseudo token from your hot to your cold. I can add that to my wallet just by clicking a button, and it'll add it for me. This isn't signing anything. It's just adding a token definition in on MetaMask. And then if I go and have a look in here under assets, I've got this thing called EPS API, which is the way it communicates. And it says I need to send, step 2, one EPS API from my hot address to my cold address. So I don't need to do this through an app. I can do it entirely through MetaMask. I can send this. I need to copy this address. Is that my cold? No, that's my hot. Get the right address. So I'm going to send it from the hot address through to the cold address. And I need to send 1. Actually, I could have done transfer between my accounts, couldn't I? That would have been the way. EtherTree, great. 1 EPS API from hot to cold. Next. Confirm. Now, this is just a MetaMask wallet. It's not a hardware wallet, so it's gone already. It's off and doing its thing. The web page has picked up that change. It's not interactive with my wallet, but it's queried the chain. And you can see that this address here I've entered now, it's got an address status of hot address, but it's pending acceptance because I still need to do step 3, which is sending 2 EPS API from the cold to the hot, which I will do now. So I'll just get the cold up over here. EtherTree over there, and I'll unlock my MetaMask because that's locked up in the meantime. Sorry, my ledger. And I'll add that token for the cold as well. And I will send 2 back. Send 2 back from my cold to my hot. So it's a bilateral confirmation. So confirm it in my ledger. And then we'll just wait here. That'll go through, get picked up at the mempool. Something will process it, and it's found the change. And it now says this is a hot address, and it's live, and it's associated with this cold. So it knows this is the cold address. So if I jump back to the EPS register now, remember my cold address had a balance of 4? It now has a balance of none, because that balance is represented by the hot. And if I go and have a look at my hot address here, My balance for my hot is now 4.
Oh, yes.
So what that means is I can connect, if this is integrated in the Webaverse app, I can connect using this address here, which has next to nothing in it. It's going to have slightly less ETH now because I just used some for gas. So it's got less than $10 in it. And that app, by using one line of code and EPS, can know that I own these 4 Webaverse over here. Now, in an imaginary example where let's say there's a free mint. Let's bring our radioactive turkey NFTs out again, and they say, right, we're going to mint these to Genesis NFT holders for Webaverse. If I'm connecting to that app using this hot wallet, the very most they can steal in the very, very worst case scenario is $9.91 because I've got that amount of ETH in there. They absolutely cannot touch my ENS, all these Webaverse, all these random things that I've been minted, which are probably scams. In this other wallet, so they're safe. A lot of Etherscan involved in that demo, but without an app that's got it built in, it's difficult to show more. But hopefully that makes sense.
So you know what? I just want to say TLDR. The thing is that now your hot wallet is a proxy, which is showing that you are holding 4 passes as of the cold wallet. Now you can do whatever things, like, just for example, we are launching the art studio and we want the community, the holders, to use the interface, to log in or to verify that they are the holders, and they can now, change the avatar and interact with the whole lot of the interface without even thinking that their NFTs or their wallet, they have to revoke .cash. There is no way your cold wallet has been linked to the Webaverse interface at all. Without like it just and I think it hardly costs the only gas fee, like $5, $6, $7 to use it, and it's flawless, and there's no need to be worried about your asset holdings.
Yeah, that's the thing, and it's about. I'll tell you what the cost is. I don't know what the gas cost is this morning, but in total that cost $1.55 one way. So that's probably $4 because each transaction is about the same. But you're spot on. The whole point of it is that you're right. You sign in using that hot wallet. You're not worried about the Genesis passes being exposed at all because that wallet isn't connected. And it gives. I think the most important thing is it gives people the freedom to try stuff out again without being sort of forever in fear of what am I signing? Am I going to get exploited? You should still be worried about that, and people should still be careful. But it's sort of, if you're not interacting with the wallet that's holding an asset, it's the one situation where it 100% is safe. Like it cannot be got at in a different wallet address. And the market research we did before that showed people had, lots of people, about 98% of people had multiple addresses. Hopefully some of those would be cold wallets. I mean, even get a hardware wallet if you can. Those are great, important and valuable stuff should be on a hardware wallet. But of course, there is a bit of extra hassle because you've got to dig the thing out, you've got to type in your PIN, you've got to authorize stuff. But the nice thing about this is you can store all your assets on that hardware wallet and you can just leave it in your drawer. Because once you've set up the proxy, assuming everything you want to do supports EPS, you can just use your hot wallet for doing that stuff.
Okay, so so there are just 2 points. First thing is that there are many big whales, right? They hold 50, 70, or maybe hundreds of Genesis passes. The thing is that their cold storage will not get linked with any of the website which we are going to launch for shop, like anything. Secondly, like I got a DM, right? They're asking like, what is this pseudo token? Like you talking you talking about the you are sending these tokens 1, 2. What is this story? Like the thing is that it's so simple, and can you please tell me that?
Yeah, it's a really great question, and thank you for asking. I think the most important thing about them is they don't exist. Is probably the easiest way to think about it. So you'll notice that I sent one way and 2 the other way, and my balance hasn't changed. I've still got the same. So people are a bit concerned. They're like, how come this thing is already in my wallet? because people have been taught, understandably, that stuff that just arrives in your wallet for free is bad stuff, which 99% of the time I suspect is probably true. If indulge me for a second, I think the thing to remember about tokens is they aren't ever in your wallet, as in physically in your wallet. It's helpful to think of it that way, but what they actually are is a notation in memory in a smart contract that says Gainsy Fed has 2 of these things. And then when you spend one, it goes, Gainsy Fed has 1 less of this thing than he did before. Therefore, he now has 1. So there's a smart contract that is tracking your balance. Nothing's in your wallet. Now, weirdly, because that's the case, you actually have technically in your wallet, a balance of every single ERC20 token ever created. You literally do. It's just that balance is 0. So if you query any contract to say, what's my balance at this contract address, it will happily go, well, you've never had any, so you've got 0. So you've got that balance. The difference with the EPS API token is your default balance is 100,000. That's what everyone starts at. But you can't get any more, and you can't get any less. So all you do when you send that token is you're sending an instruction to the register to go, hey, I'm doing a thing, and this address that I'm sending this to, because this is a 1, I'm saying I want to nominate that as my cold from a hop, and that's an instruction. Your balance won't change. You can't create a liquidity pool with them. You can't buy them off anyone or sell them. They are literally not real. Even more not real than tokens are normally not real. But I think it's a hard one because be dubious about stuff you get for free. Yes, always. Is there anything nefarious with you suddenly having a balance you didn't realize? No, not at all. It's just what's hard coded in the contract. If anyone wants to jump into the code for a second, hang on a sec. I'll stop showing this so I can show you. People might not be interested, but I'm already doing stuff, so why not? Let's go and have a look at. Where is it? Okay, here we go. So this is the contract for EPS. And then when we look at the EPS API token, so any contract can represent itself as a token. It just needs to have certain methods in there. So it's almost like a wrapper. So you put the ERC20 standard is a way of a smart contract talking with other things. It has to have certain methods. So within here, we've got like, what's its name, what's its symbol, and what's a person's balance. So normally when you're looking at someone's balance is you're doing some calculations. You go, well, they've had some and then they bought some and they sold some, and I've kept track of that balance throughout. For us here, when we say, what's my balance? We say, oh, well, it's 100,000 times how many decimals, which is what you got there. It's literally hard coded to that and can never change. Why is it that way? Because wallets will validate when you're doing an action that it doesn't exceed your balance. So if we said to people, you've got this thing called EPS API, you need to send 1 token from your hot to your cold and 2 from your cold to your hot. You'd go, if you had a 0 balance, MetaMask would not let you get any further. It would say, you can't do that. Your balance is 0. You can't send 1 because you've not got any. So we did need to hard code that to a value. But all of the stuff that looks like a token is happening. If you're looking at the contract, it's all happening at the bottom here. It's called ERC20 methods to expose API. And if you know how ERC20s work, or you dig into it a bit and are curious, is the method when you do transfer is called transfer. And almost, if you look at the standard boilerplate ERC20 transfer method, it increases your balance if you're getting something transferred to you and decreases the balance the person sending it from and vice versa. This doesn't do that. It does something called a token API call on the contract, which says if you're doing certain things, take certain actions. So the token API call is over here. And it goes, right, first of all, let's look, what's this action code? So it decodes the amount you've sent and said, if it's between 1 and 4, we're all good. If not, you've sent garbage. And if it's hot, nominate cold, which is a 1, do this. If it's cold, nominate hot, do this. And otherwise do that. So it does some stuff under the covers. But your balance won't change. If anyone says to you, oh, send me all your EPS, don't, because it doesn't exist and it's not real. But yeah, be dubious of stuff you get for free, but also realize things that are in your wallet aren't in your wallet. It's just another smart contract saying that your wallet has a certain balance. It's just like a spreadsheet, basically.
Okay. So Omnas, the real question is that, so as per you, we all already have this token like in our wallet. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing is that I get it. The balance won't change, and everything will remain same no matter how many times you use it. But
Yes.
what if I create a new wallet right now? Like you have airdropped this token to everyone in the blockchain, whatever it is, right? So it is probably the biggest airdrop in history. That's fine. But the thing is that what if I create a new wallet? And what if the future, like there will be many new wallet, right? So
Yeah.
so are they getting airdrop automatically, or there is something in there?
Wow. You think it's the largest airdrop in history, but you don't even realize how big it is, because what we've actually done sort of technically, but also not really, is we've not just airdropped it to every wallet that exists. We've airdropped it to every wallet that could potentially ever exist, which I think means we've airdropped it to more wallets than there are atoms in the universe.
Oh shit.
So if you create a new wallet in the future, it'll have 100,000 of this already. So any wallet you can possibly create will already have 100,000. We've not spent any gas doing this. It's just that the default balance is 100,000, not zero. So you're right. If nothing else comes from EPS, I'm gonna claim the largest airdrop that there could ever be. Until someone sarcastically creates another contract that does 100,001. But you can think about 100,000 as pretty much being your zero in effect.
Yeah.
All it really means is that MetaMask won't stop you sending these transactions back and forth because it thinks you've not got enough balance. Because the contract doesn't care. You could, from a contract perspective, you could say you have a zero balance and you're sending one from another person to another. That would actually work from a direct contract interaction perspective because it doesn't check your balance at any point. But most wallets helpfully will try and check for you to avoid potentially wasting your gas, which is why it has to be non-zero.
Okay. So it's fine. We get it. So Omnas, I just want to ask how, like, this thing is really clear how the community can use your EPS for their interaction. What is the future prospect? How, like, what is the next thing which can be included under the EPS protocol? For which can be used by our community, Webaverse, or any community who is watching this. So I just want to ask, what is this NFT rental? Like I was reading your website, what it is. I think, is it completely I mean,
It's a separate part of it. You've read the docs, haven't you? I'm impressed. You've actually gone all the way into the GitHub docs. It was you who's read
wrote this.
Okay. So you're asking what's next? Sort of soapbox time. I think the interesting narrative here is we are starting increasingly with solutions like this to see a separation between actual asset ownership and beneficial ownership, which I think is a really cool evolution for crypto in general and NFTs specifically, is once you start to separate that to say, I can benefit from a thing as a result of an agreement that means I can benefit from a thing without physically having it in my wallet, is you start off with things like safety like this, and then you progress through to other possibilities such as, if that's the case, someone can maybe be a beneficial owner of a thing literally without owning it. So it can be P2P. So I can say, well, maybe can I rent your NFT for 3 months and make use of it as the beneficial owner without owning it, and you get it back at the 3 months guarantee because it's enforced by a smart contract. So you're not selling it. I think the really exciting thing with potential solutions there is that you're opening up a potential cash flow stream for owners of NFTs that have benefits that don't want to sell them because they want to hold them. But at the moment, if you've got like a really valuable NFT that you think is going to appreciate in value, that's all great. But it has literally no way of driving a cash flow for you. So let's use an analogy with an in real life asset. You might be really bullish about earth moving equipment and have bought a bulldozer, and you don't want to sell the bulldozer because you're pretty sure it's going to be worth more in 3 years' time. But you don't run an earth moving company, So you haven't really got any use for the bulldozer, but you're like, that's okay, I'll park it out back because our acre is going to be worth more in 3 years' time. The thing you'd obviously do with that scenario is you'd probably rent the bulldozer out to someone that can use the bulldozer to do something, and you would go, great, I'm bullish on the price in 3 years' time, and in the meantime, I'm earning rentals for having this thing rented out. And the person who's renting it out gets a benefit from that I wasn't going to use because I couldn't be bothered. And they pay some money and they're happy with that. So it's like a virtuous cycle. You get increased engagement, more people are doing things. And importantly, the really high value assets, people can hold them, but drive a cash flow for them. And that drives real sort of value generation, I think, for crypto in general, is you've got, right, these assets can now be economically active without, just being a simple sort of trading scenario between people. With an EPS, it's a separate thing. So you can say, I want to look at the delegations, or so between a hot and a cold, or I also want to scoop up rentals that have occurred in a rental contract, and you can report those separately if you want to. So for projects like, I kind of want people to be able to protect their assets, but I'm sketch at letting people in that have just rented one for 3 months. That's totally within the project's control. But again, I think long term, if you look at the evolution of most financial vertical markets, maybe not all of them, but if you think of things like streaming services and the subscriptions that are very common nowadays, it's moving from, or has moved from, models where to get the benefit of something, you own the thing, to get the benefit of a thing, you have rights to get that thing either forever or for a period of time. And I think NFTs will move more into that space. And I think once they do, you'll see people going, I can own this NFT and I can rent it out on the open market, and I can maybe get, like, I don't know, $2,000-$3,000 a year from it being rented out. But that's cool because I want to hold it forever because I think it's going to be worth more in the future. So I think that's probably my personal opinion, and I've bored people with this in the past, is I suspect that fundamental separation of asset ownership and beneficial ownership will be a sort of a narrative in the next bull run, with people going, these things are cool, and they can do lots of stuff.
Okay,
there you go. I'll do it for you.
Okay. So Omnas, the thing is that, like, when I was using EPS protocol for the first time without even reading the full documents earlier, like 2 days back, the thing is that when I send one token, it's like signaling, like like I get it one in two thing. Like when you send one token, then you send 2 tokens from cold server to represent that now, like, it's a proxy, right? It's done. What does the 3 and 4 token represent?
What's with the 3 and 4 business? Okay,
Yeah.
So the delivery, which you mentioned before, which isn't, I don't think anyone's using this yet, and I don't even know how useful this is potentially, but the idea of including a delivery address. So you can see down in the bottom right-hand corner here that we've got hot, cold, and delivery. My thinking here was that in an ideal situation, someone might go, I've got a cold that I don't ever connect to things, and I've got a hot that I don't care about because it's almost worthless. But when I buy new stuff, I want it to go somewhere else. I don't want it to go to the hot. So at the moment, there's this situation where people are using cold. If you've got a cold storage that's ultra cold and you don't connect it, and that's where your valuable stuff goes, people will buy it using a hot because they're happy to interact using that. Then they'll send it to the cold, which seems like a really unnecessary shuffling exercise. And I've seen people before as well go, well, I didn't have enough ETH to shuffle it to cold, so I just left it on my hot because I couldn't be asked. The idea with the delivery is that you can say go straight somewhere. So the default is to send it straight to the hot wallet when you set one up. But if you want to, you can say, actually, I think what will happen is I'd like to, all new assets I buy, to go straight to cold. So I'm going to copy this guy here, for example, and I'll connect with the hot because I don't have to use my ledger. And I will send 3 to my cold. So by sending 3, I'm saying I want this delivery, this address I'm sending it to be my new delivery address. Another $1.15 down the drain just for you guys. And that will go through, be authorized. You can see it live. Once that transaction is completed, it'll do some flickery things on the screen, depending how busy ETH is. Come on, Ethereum.
So basically, the thing is that if, like,
sorry, mate, just
cold wallet.
to confirm that the delivery is now the same as the cold. So in an example where that's picking up the delivery address, if I interacted with hot, bought a thing, it would, if it was listening to EPS, go straight to my delivery wallet. Sorry, mate, you carry on.
Yeah. So the thing is that one represent your cold wallet, two represent your hot wallet, and three represent at what, like, just for example, if you're minting some NFTs and you want it to be delivered to some different address, so when you send three tokens from one address to different address, so that address will be, where you get the delivery of NFT mints like that. Is
Exactly.
that right?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's the idea. And at the moment, no one's integrated that feature, and it's the one that's a bit. I don't know. It's the feature of EPS that I remain sort of the. I like it. I like it from a personal perspective because for me, I'd like to be able to interact with a hot that represents a cold, and I'd like new stuff to go straight to cold. I don't want it to go to hot and then I have to send it to cold. That's a pain. So it's
Yeah.
like an ideal use case for me. I don't know how many other people will necessarily want to use it. And of course, the way around this, and I've seen this increasingly. This is funny because I put this in EPS over a year ago, and in the time since, I've seen a few places where they're minting things have a little box there that says, "Where do you want this to go?" Not necessarily assuming that it should go to the address that's interacting with it, which achieves the same thing. And I think I'd like to sort of see more of that sort of thing. I don't know if you can integrate it within wallets. And then you asked about 4 as well. So we currently have this proxy relationship set up, but let's say I want to bin it, and I don't want this anymore. Maybe I'm going to do it to a different hot wallet. Maybe I've lost access to the hot wallet. Maybe it's been compromised, etc., etc. If I want to just biff the whole thing in the bin, I can send 4 from either the hot or the cold. So they both have the rights to do this. And it's just the fact that I'm sending 4 that's important. It isn't anything else. So send, and I'll send it again to the cold. But again, no actual wallets, no actual tokens move between wallets. I send 4. The fact that I'm sending 4 from this address lets the register know that what I'm going to do is cancel this register. And in the course of the demonstration, once that's been picked up, we've gone full circle, and this address has no proxy record. And if we jump back over here and we query, this is my hot address, remember, which had 4. Well, it's now got 0 because that proxy is gone. And if we look at what was previously the cold, which had a 0 because it's proxied, hooray, we now have a balance of 4 again for this guy because it's back to being an unproxied balance. So that's the 3 and the 4. Little bit confusing. I think one point that I'm definitely conscious of is the onboarding flow using just this screen is kind of rubbish. So this view method here lets you view the contents of a given proxy and gives you instructions on here how to do it, 1, 2, 3. I think what would be much nicer, it's just a question of getting some time, is like a little wizard guided thing which sort of takes you through and says, step 1, you do this thing, and it has it on the screen and you move through the steps. So I think the onboarding is tricky. It's tricky partly because I deliberately didn't want an app where you go in and you paste in your hot address and you hit create proxy, and then MetaMask pops up with blind signing over here and goes, blind sign this thing. I want to avoid, if at all possible, that sort of blind signing paradigm.
Yeah. Okay. So you know what? When you mentioned the third point, when you want to NFT to get delivered to somewhere else, I think it's a very cool feature, for gifting it to someone. Like if you want to give it, so I really think it's a cool feature, and like I just want to say, man, like when you describe this whole 4 points, 1, 2, 3, 4, what did they use? It is so simple, man. I was thinking, why no one has done this before? It is so simple, and still, it's like I think, like I'm not saying that you are late or whatever, but it is so simple thing. Like it is just sending 2 tokens from 1 to 2, and like, it's like I think it is something which anyone can do in our community. But I was curious, like why no one done like I was just curious. There are so many great days, like, and yet they are why they have not done this before.
I don't know. Maybe it's a mad idea. Maybe they've not done it for good reason. I think certainly when I was talking with full-time devs, particularly about the headless protocol side of things, the first reaction I got was like, huh? As in, like, an ERC20 is an ERC20. I was like, well, it is, but it also sort of isn't. It's just a method of, the core of it, it's a method of communicating with a smart contract, and a smart contract is a chunk of code. So I think sometimes, in my personal opinion, I think sometimes the labels we give things to make it easy to talk about them and easy to think about in their own heads sometimes close off options. So people talk about things being in their wallets. I think is again makes perfect sense, and you do conceive it as being in your wallet, but it isn't. It's a notation somewhere else that says your wallet has a number, and I think that's harder to conceptualize because, thinking about the fact that you've got wallet OX whatever, there's nothing in there. It isn't even a thing. There's just a whole bunch of different places where a contract has written down that it's got a number associated with it. But once you're okay with that, you're like, well, okay, if all it is other bits of code writing down numbers, then they can do anything. It isn't necessarily about a balance increasing or decreasing. Maybe it's something like this, where we send a 1, 2, or 3, and a 4. Our balance isn't going up by 1, 2, 3, or 4. We're telling it we're taking certain actions. And the nice thing there is because almost all wallets can send ERC20s. I did this at one point. I was going to put a little carousel on the front of the site saying which wallets were supported, but because pretty much all of them can send ERC20s, I was having fun because I was just throwing them all in there and going, haha, they all natively support it. But yeah, it kind of, part of what I like about this approach is that conceivably I could get hit by a bus and this site could go down. But if someone's taken a screenshot or they've got a PDF of these instructions, people can continue using it forever, just through a wallet. There's no need for an app. There's no need for any sort of third party to do some dev. It's literally eternal, which is why we sort of gave it that name. But no, thank you. I'm not sure why it hasn't thought before. Maybe people have dismissed it as a bad idea. But I like the fact that you're giving people the option, particularly directly through their wallets, to tell the blockchain to do something. And you can get quite a lot in here. So when I'm sending this token across, there's two crucial bits of information I can include. First of all, where I'm sending it to. So I'm in here. It's perfect for a proxy because I'm literally saying, I'm doing a thing, and you're the other counterparty that's involved in that. So step one, I've got an address that I can put in here as well. And then the thing you can also do is you've got this amount here. So this amount is a uint256. So it's the largest integer that you can put into Ethereum, which is the same as, everyone's getting bored, you probably will stop listening, but it's the same as a bytes 32. So you've got a reasonable chunk of information you can potentially encode into a number here. So I'd like to see more of this sort of thing, but equally you could expand it out and say, if this is the case, can wallet providers all agree on a standard for sending encoded information between addresses, such that when it's something simple like this, people aren't blind signing stuff? Don't know. But anyway, it's interesting stuff.
So you know what? The thing is that it's all about sending a message, and you're doing just the same thing. Like you're just sending a message to tell the blockchain that this represents this.
Exactly.
Like it's just coordinating the points. It's not, and sometimes things are too simple. To like think it like that. It can be used in this way. Like it's completely yeah, man. It's so and the thing is that. I just want to add one last thing about this thing, like which I just thought should be, or maybe the next our challenge to solve it, and that is the problem of nomination. Like just for example, in bank or in some any investment, if someone like if something happens to anyone, that assets are been given to to the nominee, or like it's a automated transfer. I think we at crypto, like how many bitcoins and or how many Ethereum, so just get locked forever because they don't have any access to the wallet. So there should be something like if for example if this wallet has not been accessed, or maybe they have some kind of proof of life that these people don't exist anymore. So this should be transferred to someone else. Like I think it will be the game changer. Like this is the next thing which we need to solve. But the thing is that what you have done and what you have shown just now for the Webaverse community, I think it's completely. I think you could have just sold this idea to someone and grab some money, but you did. The thing is that it's open source, right? It's on GitHub, like it's all open,
Yeah,
and
it's all there.
yeah. So
So I mean, that's the thing about nice thing about blockchain as well is even if your GitHub isn't open, once you put the contract on there and you verify it, and all contracts should be verified if you want people to interact with it, people can just go and look. So people can jump on. They can look at the code that's in here, have a look at how it all fits together, ask questions if they want to. As you can probably tell, I'm happy to bore people with it. I like your thinking. That whole kind of like estate planning. If I lose access, because that's another big fear, isn't it? It's interesting because for crypto, I've almost got like a tick list of like what are the most terrifying features, and I was sort of looking at getting robbed or the potential to get robbed continually is pretty terrifying, and then there's the I've not been robbed, but I can't even get access to my stuff issue, and there's a few wallets coming out. Well, there's some that already exist, but increasing work on things like social recovery, where you're saying if I've lost access to this address. Is there, how many trusted counterparties can I contact who can get me back in there? So there's lots coming, and I agree that I think more of that stuff would make it safer. At the forefront of everyone's mind, of course, is that it's also quite an adversarial environment. So when you're creating things like that, you go, okay, first of all, you think, how can this be used and how is it useful for people? And then thought number two is like, okay, how's someone going to try and abuse it? How's someone going to sort of attack it? So the whole with you mentioned the whole kind of like if someone dies and they can't get access to their stuff, how does their estate get it? You can imagine a very simple scenario where you can set something up in advance and say, if this wallet has no chain interactions for a year,
exactly.
It goes to another address, and it's sort of, and you can even trickle that down. So you can set up a tree like that, and you come up with that idea and go, right, that's pretty simple. Someone sets it up in advance of time, but you then go, in order for that transfer to happen, something has to be authorized to do the transfer. So in this case, probably a smart contract. So you're saying this smart contract definitely has the ability to move my stuff in a year's time because I might be dead, which means I've given it authority to move it now. And that's when that code, like you need to know that smart contract will definitely only move your stuff in a year if you've not done some things. It's like, okay, and then once you're sure that contract's okay, you go, well, actually, okay, how are people going to look to, because it's the nature of the environment, the code's all there and people can see it and they go, how are people going to look to attack this thing? Because it suddenly becomes very valuable. Like EPS is interesting that you can proxy things between things. It doesn't actually ever transfer funds, it doesn't hold anything, nothing's custody. So it's not valuable. But that one you said before, that whole estate planning thing, wow, that would be a massive target. It would have to be really well listed.
Yeah. So Omnas, it's like I really enjoyed the talking with you, and and thank you for your time. Yeah. So I just want to ask one last thing, like, what is the do you want to say something to the community, as a conclusive thought, or just talk about some ether tree, like it's just a short message for community for the future integration of Webaverse and EPS.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. I think kind of like the closing message I would say is sort of make use of these sorts of things and be as safe as possible. I think in terms of the integration specifically for Webaverse is just Webaverse is a fun project and there's so many fun parts of it. It would be nice to think that people weren't holding back because they're worried about losing stuff. I think it's make sure you use your assets, take any opportunity you can to be safe, still be wary, get a hardware wallet, separate stuff out, and make use of all the cool stuff that Webaverse has got coming, but do it as safely as possible. If anyone's got any questions, just feel free to reach out.
Yeah. So the thing is that right now we are working on the the art studio, and then
Next,
we can next we are coming with the marketplace. Then we are planning to launch some few tokens, few NFTs. Then
nice.
yeah, the upstate is coming, the set token, and there's a lot of whole bunch of things which is coming for the Webaverse NFT community. So we just want, initially before these things come, we want to safeguard our community so they can freely interact with the, whole lot of these features and interface without thinking twice, like they may or they not get hacked. This thing is
Yeah,
that's why.
exactly right.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
credit to you. Like, I'm really pleased to see projects that are looking to use solutions like EPS to say to their holders,
Mhm.
look, we're going to a bit of extra effort to keep you guys safe. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So since the day I joined, my whole point was to give awareness and to at least educate people how not to lose money first. Like before
Yeah,
thinking about how to make money, you should know how not to lose money, which you already
yeah,
made. So that is the first point. And second thing is that EPS is too simple to use with, and like anyone like who has no prior knowledge of blockchain, he can start using it and safeguard himself if he know a few basic stuff. But yeah, I think it's
yeah.
pretty cool. And we at the was me, Moon, and a whole lot of the bunch of team are really happy to integrate with your EPS. And the good thing is that it is like it's free and open for everyone. Like I don't know why not much people are using it. Right, like to thank the Loom Dart, the Let's Together project, Dama, who started using it, and like we know each other, but yeah, it's been a starting point, and hopefully more projects will use it in the future.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. No, I think if everyone's integrated it so far, it is a good thing. I think anything new takes a while to catch on, to be honest with you. And I think even like I was talking to someone the other day that if there's a problem that exists, and I've seen this a number of times, someone comes along and solves that problem by doing something differently, there's quite a high bar to get over for people to join in because it's new. Like you can say, oh, I've solved this problem you've got, and you do this thing over here. People a lot of the time will be like, yeah, but that's different. So I've got used to the fear and terror now. Maybe I won't sort of get on board with that. But I think that sort of change happens slowly, and it's about giving people options and choices. I think at the end of the day, and also I think the other thing that it enables, and this is one thing I definitely find, and you see this on Twitter, is that someone gets exploited. There's not an awful lot of sympathy sometimes. People are like, oh, you made a mistake, it's on you. I'm like, okay,
Yeah, yeah,
probably yes, but like people should be able to make mistakes and not get robbed. It's
yeah,
not,
yeah, yeah,
it shouldn't be an automatic, oh, you did a wrong thing, you can't have any recourse about the fact that someone has stolen your stuff. It's like, I'd like to think that we can improve everyone's safety and practices and all that kind of stuff, but also introduce safeguards that mean people can make mistakes and not get stuff stolen,
yeah.
potentially.
So you know what, Abhi? In last few days, the path, the crypto path, his
Mm.
LastPass account get compromised due to some reason. And the good thing what he do is that he inform community, he inform all of them like please don't use LastPass and get over it. But instead, people oh you lost money, you're OG. Why like it's just ridiculous. Like, man, like people are more keen to rug pull each other rather than growing each other. Like it's just
Yeah,
beyond
it
me
can happen to
why people do
anyone.
that. Yeah, it can happen to anyone.
Yeah, it's kind of and sometimes you read some certain situations and you're like, wow, that was kind of almost waiting to happen. Certain individuals have done certain things. You're like, if you carry on that way, you're gonna get stung at some point. And some people are as careful as they can possibly be,
Okay.
and something occurs. So I think you have as many layers as possible as you can, and yeah, I agree with you. When people are sort of coming out and saying this thing happened to me, be aware of it, then that's a good thing.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
they're making
yeah.
other people aware.
I think the path do the right thing to inform the community that
Mm,
this thing can happen, and
definitely.
you should safeguard yourself. So the thing is that like like I am really happy now that the community knows about EPS, and hopefully we can start implementing it as soon as possible. And
Nice.
we can just safeguard them from getting all these hacks. So
Definitely.
thank you for your time, sir. Thank you for joining.
Oh,
Thank you
pleasure.
for
Thank you for having me over. Nice to talk with you. Really, it was a pleasure to talk with you, friend, and nice to meet anyone from the Webaverse community that was listening to this and hasn't dropped off to sleep with my droning on. Thanks very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time.
See ya. Bye.
Okay.